Afternoon YouTube, I'm Chucky2009 and I bought a bench vise, which if you know anything about the history I've had with store-bought vices, is kind of a surprise to some of y'all. However, I did my homework and a lot of people recommended these Yost brand vices, so I picked this one up. I bought this thing on Amazon. It's made out of cast steel and so hopefully this will work out really well. Now ultimately my plan for this thing is to put it on a receiver mount and slide it into the hitch receiver on my welding truck, as even though it's pretty hard to damage a bench vise in shipping, I'm sure, in fact I know for a fact, stranger things have happened and it just sits down right in there. So I think it's really cool the way they did that. And this right here is the beautiful cast steel bench vise. So I don't think I've ever owned a cast steel bench vise. I've owned quite a few of them. So fast forward to a couple weeks ago, I decided that what I needed was a bench vise to go on the back of my shop truck that often doubles as a mobile welding rig. And as much as I didn't really want to go out and buy a vise because most of the ones I've had have been, for lack of a better term, just pure junk, I remembered when I made that vise, a bunch of people said that in the comments that really the only two good vices you can get, at least in their minds, are Yost vices and Wiltons. I really wanted a Wilton, but you know, I'm willing to pay a premium for American-made stuff when it's feasible. Wilton is just, as far as I'm concerned, they've completely exited reality with their pricing structure, and so that pretty much just leaves Yost, and so that's what I got. This one, unfortunately, isn't domestically produced. It's made in Taiwan, but the Taiwanese, they make some really good stuff, especially out of cast and forged components. I have two Taiwanese bandsaws, and they have been absolutely phenomenal. I love the things. Really high quality castings, never a problem with them that's been major. One needed a little adjustment one time, but overall great saws. And so when I saw this thing and I saw the reviews and I looked at the price of it, I figured this was probably the bench vise for me. This entire front jaw is one piece of forged steel. There's no weld marks, there's no forging lines or anything. They cast this, they forged it technically out of one solid piece of steel. And then you can see it's welded to this assembly, which we can tell by the fact that they MIG welded this electrically. This is also steel because there's no feasible way to do that, especially in a production type environment, to cast iron. So we have this forged component which goes right up against this presumably forged component. This might actually be machined from a solid block. I'd have to look on the inside to really tell. And this goes through this rear assembly. Rear assembly, it's pretty much the same thing. You can tell this is also one solidly forged piece of material. And it's welded to these spacers. There's like a spacer on each side, which is in turn welded to the forged base. And again, we can tell this is cast steel from the fact that it's welded to this, which is obviously just regular plate steel. So the forgings of this vise look to be extremely high quality. I'm looking at them, they're smooth, they have a slight texture to them, obviously, as pretty much any forged component will. But there's not huge voids in the material. There's not like big old ugly bubbles in this thing. It looks very smooth, it looks very properly done. And other first impressions wise, you know, we have these teeth in here essentially. I'm drawing a blank on the word right now, my coffee hasn't kicked in. These are made out of hardened steel, they're replaceable, there's just, they just screw in here. And then the other thing, and this is something recently I've learned about most production vices, is we have these pipe jaws in here, and these are also made from hardened machined steel. And now what's really cool is with some of the cheaper vices, they're just cast in place. Like this whole section, this and this would just be cast from one solid piece of material. So the advantage of these bolt-in jaws is that one, they're replaceable if you ever manage to wear them out. Two, they're hardened steel, so they're much less likely to wear out because, you know, cast iron, it's if you ever look at it really close, it has a texture kind of like almost like metallic styrofoam, if you will, so it just kind of wears away. But it's, you know, it's great for what it's great for, but some things it's really nice to have the cast steel. So we have hardened machined pipe jaws in here, and then there's also this nice large anvil on the back of this thing, which I really like. Try not to beat the crap out of stuff on my vices too much, but it certainly happens, especially, you know, this is going on the road with me, so it's not like I'm going to be bringing a 500-pound anvil on my truck as well. Have it sit there on the back side. one complete vise stand that I was able to build with stuff that I already had on hand. And do the holes still match up? I don't think I painted it that much. Yeah, the holes match up. Alright, great. Great, now let's get this tightened down. And the idea of this demonstration isn't really to straighten this, it's really put this whole thing through its paces. Alright, we're getting somewhere. Let's see what this vise can take you to. Normally I don't advocate the abuse of tools, but let's be realistic. This is the kind of thing I do with a vise. This is the kind of thing I have a vise for. And if Yoast has their act together, this is the kind of thing that they build their vices to withstand, because they know everybody and their brother does it, even though everybody and their brother and their sister knows you're not supposed to. If this thing breaks, I'm sticking with the cheap vices and the homemade ones. But, I mean, we are smashing flat 3-inch wide, 3/8 inch bar stock, and this is an 8-pound hammer. Alright, camera has fresh batteries now. It might make it longer than this vise, only time will tell. I will say this appears to be some extremely good steel that they've made this pin out of, because this has certainly been a workout for a thinner piece of metal. This is probably only 3/8 thick or so. And I mean, it is like straight as an arrow after all this. Not saying it's the most demanding thing ever, but if this was just cheap, mild steel, it would be pretzel shaped long before now. Alright, that's about as straight as I want to attempt to get this. This means, because I have a couple other things I want to try. Vise appears to be fine, don't see any cracks. Didn't hear any weird noises. I think it might have actually withstood that. That could have gone tragically wrong. Luckily, I still get to have children someday. The whole truck is moving every which way right now. You know, honestly, the more I look at this, between the welds and the way it's forged and with the quality of materials they used, this looks to me like something you find at a flea market and buy from an old timer. And you know, it's 60 years old. This is how stuff used to be built, and Yoast evidently still builds their vices, or has them built this way, and I think it's really cool. Like I said, I would prefer if it was domestically made. They do offer some vices made here in the US. I would love to get my hands on one, but I don't think that'll probably ever happen, because pretty well set with vices right now, but who knows what the future will hold. But I mean, this Taiwanese thing, cast steel, really well put together. I really do like it. So between that and the fact we now have a little hillbilly stand made entirely out of junk material, pretty content. Today was a good day. I hope you enjoyed this long and becoming somewhat rambly video. But thanks for watching, have fun. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe for more. Links of interest in the video description below. Have fun, stay safe out there, everybody.